Because if something collapses in Ukraine, what the hell is Poland and countries like that going to do when 30 million Ukrainians destroy the border fences and arrive with guns in their hand fleeing from Russia? What's going to happen? There's going to be disaster in Europe, a catastrophic disaster. This will be a massive European crisis. And we have a very strange environment whereby the new German Chancellor, Merz, claims at least he supports Ukrainian membership of NATO. The previous Chancellor Scholz did not. But now in Poland, the new uh, Polish President Nawrocki does not support Ukrainian membership of NATO or the EU. So Polish nationalism is again showing its destructive face. And this is somebody myself who has long supported since the 1980s Polish-Ukrainian reconciliation, seeing that Poland is maybe turning its back on Ukraine. Certainly at the presidential level and at the public level, far fewer Poles support Ukraine joining EU and NATO than actually support Ukraine joining. This is irrational. Ukraine, Ukraine should be, Poland and Western countries should be begging Ukraine to join NATO, not closing the door on Ukraine. Ukraine has the only battle-hardened, experienced army in Europe. It has the largest army in Europe. European armies have never fought this kind of war. Afghanistan and Iraq is not this kind of war. And they don't have the numbers of troops. They don't have the battle experience. Ukraine also, as we saw with the attack inside Russia, spiderweb, Ukraine has the most innovative army in the world. Why is NATO not begging Ukraine to join? Why is it closing its door? Because countries like the US basically agreed to a Russian veto over Ukraine joining NATO. Um, the I think that the inability to understand why Ukraine is so crucial to Western security leads myself, who's pro-Western and has always been pro-American, to be very cynical about Western motives. I mean, the Chinese just this week were honest enough to say that they are supporting Russia in this war. They don't want Russia to be defeated in this war because if Russia's defeated, then the American attention will all shift against China. So it's better for Russia to be fighting the war than for China to be fighting the war. I think the same logic applies in Europe. Let's be frank. And in the West. It's better that the Ukrainians die fighting to the last Ukrainian than it is for Europeans to be dying fighting the war. Isn't that really the case? If that wasn't the case, firstly, Ukraine would be brought into NATO, which would end the war tomorrow. And secondly, the West would come up with a strategy which is Russia's military defeat, which they've never had. So if there's no strategy of Russia's military defeat, what is the strategy? What is the goal? Well, it's just basically to give the Ukrainians enough to keep them fighting, to keep them so they won't be defeated, sorry. And then at least the war's over there and not inside NATO and the EU. Because if something collapses in Ukraine, what the hell is Poland and countries like that going to do when 30 million Ukrainians destroy the border fences and arrive with guns in their hand fleeing from Russia? What's going to happen? There's going to be disaster in Europe, a catastrophic disaster. This will be a massive European crisis.